Close.
Alrighty.
The glow in the darkness and supposed to be
I'll go get my hearing test first thing Monday morning.
Alrighty. To become a great speaker. I started off this presentation where I said, imagine for a moment you are asked to speak up on stage with 15 minutes notice. What an impossible task that might seem like, but it's very achievable. In fact, if you were to give me a topic of subject matter that I knew, but asked me to do a presentation on it, it wouldn't take me long to come up, maybe 10, 15 minutes to come up with a speech of that subject matter, as long as I knew the subject. And I knew the subject quite well. And the word is that it's extemporaneously, but I'll get that in a sec. So where do we start? We start off with something called a story bank. A story bank is stories of your life that you start to compile. Even for your own benefit, this is probably one of the best. If you take nothing else away today, start building a story bank. Just things to share with the world. Stories about people. That's my daughter. And that is an image of the first time that she ate or drank a spider, which is an ice cream and soft drink. I don't know if you eat it or drink it, whatever it is, but that's the first time she shared one of those with me. And so I've got a whole story about that. And the heading is, first time she ate a spider. That's a story about perspective. That's a Zodiac with a boat full of commandos. And a friend of mine was going from Williamstown to Sorrento in the middle of the night, in the middle of winter, in a Zodiac with his fellow commando regiment, a 2 commando company from Williamstown. Halfway across, his perspective changed. He absolutely hated it. It was cold, it was wet, he was bouncing around, he thought, what's the point of this? We're not even doing a proper exercise, it's just navigational exercise, and he absolutely hated it. And he was 21 at the time. And then he stopped and thought for a moment. He would have given anything to be in that situation when he was 16 years old. He was in a boat with his mates, fully cammed up, with guns, camouflage paint on, and they're tearing across the middle of Port Phillip Bay in a Zodiac boat. How cool is that? And all of a sudden he got to do that. He didn't have to do it, he got to do it. We get to do things in life. We don't have to do anything except death and taxes. But we get to do everything. So that's a story about perspective. And each time I think I'm having to do something, I change my perspective to, well, I get to do this. It's really come to a choice. And I get to do this today. We all got to come here today. Fables. That's just an image of the boy who cried wolf. If you're struggling to come up with a story or a particular scenario from your life, come up with a fable, an analogy, something that draw from other people's stories. And we can all draw stories from fables and things. It just helps to tell a story. And if you've got no story examples of a boy who cried wolf type scenario, then tell that story. Client or professional, this is your testimonials. This is your results from your success stories. As soon as in your work life, even if you're working for a company, as soon as you start getting some results, say, can you send me an email just with a paragraph? Send me a video, even better. And start compiling those, because one day if you do branch out on your own, if you do your own business or your podcast or whatever you want to do, you're going to use those testimonials. Doesn't matter how old they are, doesn't matter where they've come from. All you really see, you think of the websites that you've seen and you see 5 stars, someone's name, and then a paragraph or a video. We're not going to look at research where that's come from or anything. As long as it's genuine and it's from you, from them to you, start compiling your testimonials. That will be your gold. And I'll talk about why in a sec. Funny stories. Bit hard to see. That's Rick Astley there. She's making coffee. It's in McDonald's and there's a man on a horse going through the drive-through. Start gathering some funny stories. Now there will be some crossovers as well. You'll have a funny story about some family. You'll have a perspective story about a client or professional situation. There will be some crossovers. That's 5 categories that I've given you. Build up some more. Start with those 5 and build up some more categories. And every time when you're walking along, I encourage you to do it something where what have we always got on us? Almost all the time. Our phones. So have maybe a notebook. Something in the cloud is even better. I've got mine stored in the cloud on a program called Trello. But have something stored on your phone that you can take it out and go, oh, that's a funny story, and I'll just write that down. Just write the heading. You don't need to write it more. If you know it's a story, I'll just write Roger's Commando story, and I know what that story is. Just write the heading. Just write, because you know what the story is, just as a prompt. And then when somebody says, so if he has a wedding, he's already had his wedding. I didn't tell that story, but say he had a wedding and a few of his army mates were there, I would get up and tell that story. I've already got it. And I'd say, he's a mate, I've known him for 20 years. Funny story, one day, and I get on with the story. I've already got a speech, and someone would say, oh, that's a great, did you rehearse that? No, it's just a story I tell.
Well, they're all lived stories, aren't they? You've lived them.
Yes. Well, not the fables. I've never cried wolf. Maybe I have. I do all the time. Doug told me that I do all the time. Thanks, Doug. Sorry, that's 6, persistence. That's my daughter. She's on 2 milk crates and then a welding chair. She doesn't remember how she got up there, and I have no idea. I just remember taking that photo, thinking that was incredible. A story of persistence. It could be a persistent story from yourself. It could be crossed over with a perspective story. But that's a category. I've got a lot of stories in stories of persistence. And this could be about somebody whom you met who climbed to the top of Mount Everest. It could be someone else's story, as long as it's engaging and it's relevant to whatever you're talking about.
I also think resilience.
Resilience? Yes. Put that down. This is a category. Don't tell me. Write it down. Okay. Who here's heard of Dr. Murabian? Dr. Murabian. No. In the 60s, he did a test on the importance of body language. Body language. Would you believe? Sound like Maxwell Smart. Would you believe? You know? No? No.
86.
86, yes. 99. Look it up. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, okay, what This is crickets. Most of what we say is non-verbal. More than most of what we say. The vast majority of what we say is non-verbal communication. So what Dr. Murabian did is he got a whole lot of facial expressions. Happy, sad, nonchalant, and then he put phrases down underneath them and to ask people, how does this person, what do they mean by saying this? If they said the words, I love you, and the person was like that, you would look at that and go, well, they don't really mean that. They probably mean the opposite. If the person said, I'm really excited, and they were just going, like that was the expression, they don't really mean that either. And what he drew from that is we take more from a facial expression than the actual sentence itself. And he did this over and over and over, and overwhelmingly, it was the facial expression above and beyond the words that were said. And he started doing a similar experiment with body language. If someone said, I'm really excited to be here, you can tell that it's not excitement. Here's a little tip. If you're going in for an interview in the future, what do you normally see when you see people going in for an interview? They're all queuing up, they're all lining up in the chairs out the front of the interview room, and they're all sitting like this. Does that scream confidence? No. What about the person sitting there? Like a bit more? Yeah, take up a bit of space. I feel better sitting up like that. If I'm sitting like this, I start to make myself nervous. So not only does it look bad, but I start to feel like that. We are how we act. Do you agree on that? So if you walk, has anyone said to you before, chin up? It's not just because you look better when you put your chin up and your shoulders back. It's because you feel better when you do that. Your body language is twofold. How you act is how the world sees you, but it's also how you feel. It's a bit of a fake it until you make it. So if you're feeling a bit down, try smiling, walking out with your chest up, your chin up, your chest out. You'll start to feel better. And the world will see that and they'll treat you accordingly. 55% is our body language. 38% is how we say things, our tone, our expression, our vocal variety. And only 7% is the actual words we say. 7%. Who doesn't believe me? I'm going to prove it to you. I didn't kill him. Just reading that, at face value, latecomers.
Sorry.
Ooh. This is my daughter, the one I mentioned earlier. It's the one that ran away. Was that a... Oh. If you read that at face value, that would suggest denial. I didn't kill him. But if I change a couple of these words around the way I say it, it changes the sentence completely. I didn't kill him. That would suggest someone else did, and maybe I know who it is.
Yeah.
I didn't kill him.
No.
That would suggest I maybe bashed him up or something, or hurt him, took him within an inch of his life. I didn't kill him. That would suggest I killed someone else. So it's the way I said it completely changes that sentence. What if something else, something a bit simpler? I didn't eat the cake. Again, it's denial. I didn't eat the cake. I did something else with it. I didn't eat the cake. Well,
But I
might have
saw
been.
someone else eat it.
I saw someone else eat it. I didn't eat the cake. I saw someone else eat it. So it's how we say things makes a massive difference. Try this. That's a really nice shirt, Doug. Do I mean it? No. That's how I say things. And people remember the feeling more than the words themselves as well. In fact, what you say has very little impact. It's how you make people feel. Most of you won't remember what I've said today, but they will remember how I've made you feel. And you will remember the things that you've written down, hopefully, but you won't remember the words that I've said. It's more about the emotion behind what I've said. Fear. Why are we scared? It's because we don't know. Fear is begotten of ignorance and uncertainty. That's me, falling 3 stories onto a big airbag. That's me, about to jump out of an aeroplane at 3,000 feet. One of those scenarios I was terrified, the other one I was as calm as a docile cow. Who has any idea which of those scenarios, except for you?
Falling 3 stories is pretty fearful.
Yeah. But if everything else had have gone wrong, if that airbag had have deflated, I wanted to be a stuntman, that's why I was doing this. I did a course when I was 21. If everything had have gone wrong, I still may have survived that. If everything had have gone wrong here, that would have meant certain death. Agree? So why wasn't I more scared to jump out of an aeroplane? It was the training, it was the preparation. Ignorance and uncertainty is what gives us fear. If we don't know what's going to happen, that gives us more fear. And that's where the preparation comes into speaking. If you know what you're going to be talking about, you know it extemporaneously, there's that word again, you know it so well, then the fear will slowly disappear. You'll still have that beating heart, but you will know that you'll be able to talk about it. That was my view. That's a view of Pakenham. That was a few years ago. I think this is all houses now. It's grown a bit. Now there are four types of speeches. So I mentioned before that word extemporaneously. Has anyone heard that word before?
Yeah.
Extemporaneously? Yeah? Mark, do you want to share what it means?
Extemporaneously.
Yeah.
It's the information delivered to you there and then at the time.
Close? Yes, that's part of it. It means you know something so well that you can deliver it at any opportunity. So you will have a certain skill in this room that you know so well that if someone stops you in the street and says, talk about this subject matter, go, and you'll just be able to start talking about it. That's something that you know extemporaneously. You know it so well that you can speak seemingly off the cuff. There are 3 other types of speeches, which I'm not going to teach you about because it's a useless skill. Can anyone guess what the other 3 types of speeches are? I'll give you a clue. One is manuscript. So reading the speech, word for word. Either off a teleprompter or reading it in front of you off a lectern. Anyone else guess what the others might be? Memorised. So that's like a play, a theatre. So you memorise it word for word. A script. And the other one is improv. Just making it up. So it's no rehearsal, it's just getting up and just making something up. And we see this like these improv shows and that sort of thing.
Is that risky?
It's amusing, but yeah, absolutely, it's risky. Well, it depends on what you want to achieve. Has anyone seen that show, Thank God You're Here? Yeah? Or Whose Line Is It Anyway? So these are shows where they get comedians and they give them a subject matter and they say, talk about this subject now and make it humorous. And they get up on stage and they make up some ridiculous scenario and they're funny, but it's improv. We've all heard of improv. It's just an impromptu. Now, if it's about your subject matter and you're making it up, I say that's not improv, that's something you've learnt and you've rehearsed in your mind and you've got the stories. There's a difference.
Yeah.
And that's why you build up the story bank, you know your service or your product or your skill, and you're speaking about that. It's from the heart, and 5 or 10 minutes preparation just to get a bit of structure, and I'll tell you how to do that in a sec. But that's not speaking improv, that's speaking extemporaneously. From the heart, knowing what you're already going to be speaking about. But we have to cover 3 bases. This is important. Write this down. Who's heard of Aristotle? Great philosopher. Yep. So this is 2,500 years old, what I'm about to share with you now, and you probably haven't seen it. So I'm going to bring back the old stuff. Ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is your credibility. It's very difficult to give yourself credibility. I'll give you an example. I'm Daniel, I know how to public speak, I'm very good at this, you should listen to what I've got to say. Versus, ladies and gentlemen, this is Daniel, he knows what he's talking about, he's a great public speaker, you should listen to what he's got to say. Ladies and gentlemen, which one sounds better? The second one, yeah. You can give someone else credibility, especially in this Australian culture, it's we call it big noting yourself. It's hard to give yourself credibility, but someone else can give it to you. And that's why we have an important introduction. So from today, think about how you would like to be introduced. Given an opportunity to get up on stage, give someone a little card similar to what you've got. How would you like to be introduced? You get up on stage, read this out before you introduce me. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to the stage the next person who's going to be speaking on this, and this. They're an expert in the field. There you go. And you get introduced exactly the way you want to be introduced. Not just, ladies and gentlemen, this is Steve. Okay, we want people to be talking about us the way we want to be talked about. Yeah? So your introduction is so important. That's the best way to get ethos. Pathos is your personal connection. What's your story? What is the audience? How does the audience connect? You all shared your personal connections with me today. The reason for you to come here today. You heard my personal connections, well, my stories, my reasons for wanting to be a great speaker. That's your personal story. And the logos is the system. It's what I'm showing you now. It's the step-by-step. Last year, we went to visit my sister up in Queensland. Was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. I forget. Time flies. And my eldest daughter got sick. She was sick for a few days and we thought she'd just eaten something bad because no one else got sick. The day we were to fly out, I woke up with a headache and it got worse, progressively worse. I felt nauseous and I didn't eat and I started sweating and I was sitting at the airport. Half an hour before our flight, I said to the girls, I feel really bad, I don't know what's happening, but let's just get on the plane and we'll get back down to Melbourne. And I sat back down on the plane. We got through the checkout, I felt okay, I was still nauseous, I still hadn't eaten, still hadn't drunk, and I sat down on the plane, I reached out for the vomit bag thing, and that's the last thing I remember. It's going like this, and I blanked out, and I went through this delirium, I was flying through the air, and I was running through the beaches and stuff. I was in this delirious state, I don't know what it was, but I woke up to someone putting a mask over my face, the oxygen mask, and I looked over and there was a medic. I think it was a fireman. Usually a fireman at the airport. It was a medic, he had the gas bottle, he had a bag, he had the cross on him, he had his uniform. There was another one standing beside him and he had me by the arm. He was holding me by the arm like this. And he looked at me in the eyes and he could see I was like looking around like this, and he looked at me in the eyes, I looked at him and he said, "It's all right, mate, I got you. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to stand you up, get you out of the plane, there's an ambulance waiting for you, they'll check your vitals and take you to the hospital if needed." I went, okay. So here's what he did. His ethos with his personal connection to me. His ethos with his credibility. That was his introduction. I saw he's instantly who he was. How did I know who he was? He had his uniform. He had his name on his thing, he had his cross, he had his oxygen bag. I knew he was a medic. He didn't have to even tell me, I'm a medic, I know what I'm doing. I thought, okay. I looked and I've got a medic here with an oxygen mask on my face. I still need more information. What else did he do? He grabbed my hand, he said, it's all right, mate, I got you. Oh, okay, personal connection. I feel safe now. I'm still confused, what's happening? Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna stand you up, take you out of the aeroplane, there's an ambulance waiting for you. He ticked all 3 boxes. I don't know if it's in his training, but he just did it. He did a very good job of that, and then I felt safe and secure. He'd answered all these questions. When you go to a doctor's surgery, what's the first thing you see? You see the certificates on the wall. There's a receptionist there to help you. You know that they've got some credibility. Like instantly you know there's a doctor. He comes out and he's got his stethoscope. I don't know if they walk around with a stethoscope. They do that in the shows or they actually do it in real life? They're always walking around with a stethoscope around their neck. I think that's just the shows. His credibility. He's got his pathway. His personal connection. His personal connection is, tell me about yourself. How are you feeling? How are the kids, by the way? How's the wife? No, tell me about your ailments and stuff. If there's a good doctor, he'll want to know, he'll try and draw out as much information as possible from you. And then, what does he do? Take this medication, do these exercises, he gives you a pathway. You don't just walk straight in without seeing any of that, without seeing the credibility and just see some bloke in a laneway and he says, here's what you're going to do. You imagine that just going somewhere without seeing credibility, without having a personal connection. He just says, do these exercises. You know, I don't know you. Where's all the rest of it? I need more information. So your task is, where are you going to give your credibility? Is it going to be a website? Is it going to be a testimonials? Do you have credentials? Do you have certificates that you can share with the world? You need to give some credibility. You need to have a personal connection with people. Here's my story. We've seen this on websites before. Here's where I've come from. This is what I've learned. I hope you can learn something from it as well. And here's the 5-step formula to XYZ. Okay? With a podcast, for example, people want to know about you. What's your story? What's your credibility? What's your personal story? And how are you going to help me? That's all that is. And this is called rhetoric. Rhetoric. We've heard the word rhetorical. That's where that's come from. And a rhetorical question is just a question without an answer. But the actual meaning of it is the 3-part connection. Rhetoric is a 3-part connection to any kind of presentation, whether it be a speech or a website or a business card. What's the 3-part connection to it? You can have that in a logo. You can have that in a name. In fact, if you're developing a brand for yourself, there should be no doubt in anyone's mind about what you do. Anyone got any questions on that? Everyone write that down. Good. You're probably wondering how we're going to remember all this. When you're developing a speech or a presentation, how are you going to remember the certain points that you've written down, even if you're given 15 minutes? Incidentally, if you know a subject so well and somebody says, can you do a speech on it? It shouldn't be a problem for you to speak for a couple of hours on that subject matter. Once you get over the fears and the nerves, because you just know it, you can keep talking about it. The trick is, as a great man once said, if you want a 15-minute speech, give me a day to prepare. If you want a 2-hour speech, I'm ready right now. Because being concise is a skill. But once you've drawn that down, how do you remember it? Let's say you wanted to do a speech on how to make a cake. And you want to remember all the steps. You don't want to miss anything out on how to make a cake. And that was your 5-minute speech. How to bake a cake. First thing you ought to remember is, all right, I need to remember a cup of milk. How do I remember milk? Use your hands. So a cup of milk. How do I remember a cup of milk? I imagine pulling my fingernail off and milk squirting out from underneath it. It's disgusting, it's visual, and you will probably remember this one little scenario for weeks from now. Next, I've got to remember flour. A cup of flour. How do I remember flour? Imagine snapping off your index finger and it just being full of flour, and you can just keep shaking flour out of your finger. It's disgusting, it's visual, and you'll probably remember it weeks from now. And you just keep going through that. Eggs. I'm not going to use that finger, but eggs. Imagine mixing eggs with your middle finger and then showing the world. It's visual, it's disgusting, and you'll probably remember it weeks from now. Which brings me to my next point, tonal variety and using your voice and expression. I mentioned before that 93% of what we say is non-verbal, so how do we enhance that? With our tempo. So I've got a bit of variety when I speak. If I was just to speak like this and just speak fairly monotone, it'd be very hard for you to take in. There's no pauses, there's no variety, and it's very difficult to keep following me. Do you agree on that? So with a bit of variety, it makes it more engaging. And this is what makes us more relatable as well. Have you ever heard anyone that doesn't use any tone in their voice? Even if they use pauses, they're not using any tone at all, there's no variety. With a bit of variety, it makes you more relatable. So, first point is tempo. This is how I use my hand for this to remember this as well. So tempo, what does this look like? A conductor. He's keeping the tempo. For the most part, that's what they do. And tempo is that beautiful Latin word that's been translated over into English. All it means is timing. So we change our timing. We speed up when things we need to gloss over, and we slow it down when it's important. Maybe throw in a couple of the pauses. This is the universal symbol for pause, 2 lines. Every time you see a pause button, you see 2 lines. Pause. The power of the pause. I love the pause. It eliminates the ums and the ahs, and it gives the audience a time to think about what you're saying, and it gives you time to think about what you're saying. If someone just keeps talking without throwing in a pause, it's very hard for you to comprehend what they're saying, and it's very hard for you to try. You've got to pause. Stop. Give them a chance to think. Here's a little challenge for you. 3 seconds. That was 3 seconds. It felt like an eternity to me, but it probably didn't feel like that long for you. Next time you're speaking, try pausing for 3 seconds, even one-on-one. The person will probably start talking over you, but just try pausing. 3 seconds. Tone. That's a tuning fork for tone, but I don't mean it the same way. So tone. Who thinks they know what I mean by tone? Tone is not what I say, but it's how I say. It's the emotion behind my voice. So you can tell I'm happy right now. Even though my vocal variety hasn't changed, if I'm smiling in my tone, it actually comes through how I'm saying it, right? If I'm talking like this, I change my face a bit, my voice changes. I'm not even trying to do it, it's just I'm coming across as gruff. That's your tone. Has anyone ever said to you, smile when you're speaking on the phone? You ever heard that? It comes through. You can hear when someone's smiling. You can hear when people are on the radio, on a podcast. You can hear when people are smiling. You can hear the tone. Your tone, the way you dress, even if you're making a phone call, you dress and your tone changes. That's what I mean by tone. Volume. That's 4th. That's like I don't know why I've got that, but that just helps me to remember volume. Oh, that's right, turning up the volume. No. That is your melody. That's right, I really like that. That's your melody. The last one is volume, but melody. So your melody is the ups and the downs. And usually when you speed up, your voice goes up, and when you slow down, make sure you bring your voice back down again, especially if you want to say something that's very deep and emotional. Bring your voice back down, and then bring it back up when it's lighter. And you'll do this naturally. If you're speaking to someone one-on-one, you'll start to mirror each other. That's a really good way of connecting with someone, is to mirror what they're doing. And you can do that just one-on-one, body language. Anyone ever heard of mirroring before? Yeah, so mirroring, yeah. If you're speaking one-on-one, mirror that person, mirror their vocal variety. It's a really good connection. But when you're speaking, make sure you have that vocal variety with your melody. And the last one is volume. I don't speak this loud when I'm speaking one-on-one. And I've got a mic, but it's not speakers here. But if you're speaking up on stage, give it an extra 10%. When I'm teaching people to be better public speakers, I say, give it a little bit more volume, just 10%. 10% of everything I just mentioned. 10% more volume, 10% more melody, 10% more variety in your tempo, 10% more variety in your tone. Just give it a bit more. And if you want to stand up here and talk with your hands in your pockets, go for it, because that's you. And that might be the way you speak, and that's great. Gary Vaynerchuk stands with his hands in his pockets through half of his speech. And then when he stops, he wants to emphasize your point. He gets up here and he does this and he puts his hands back in his pockets. So just be you, but give it an extra 10%. And practice that. Recording yourself on a camera, looking at yourself, listening to yourself. Like turn the volume down, just listen, and just watch it, and then put the camera face down and just listen to yourself. That's a good way of gauging how much variety you have when you're speaking. Any questions on that one? Okay. I understand I'm shooting through these fairly quickly, but I am aware of the time. Yeah. All right. So how do we structure a presentation? How do we have a beginning? You probably all heard beginning, body, conclusion. Or the other one is you tell them what you tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them what you've told them. That's a very simple way of developing a presentation. It's a very simple process. I'm going to tell you one right now that's going to keep the audience engaged. You're going to take them through a journey, and hopefully by the end of it, you'll hopefully tick a few boxes, and especially if you incorporate that rhetoric. So this is the curve. Write this down. This is the ideal world. At the start of this presentation, I asked you a question. How good would it be? How good would it be to get up on stage and give a presentation seemingly off the cuff, without any hesitation, without the fear, just being excitement? How good would it be? That's the ideal world. If you want to talk about something like energy, renewable resources, how good would it be to live in a world where we have, I'll use different colours here, we have energy for all, we have, it's cheap and it's affordable, and we're not digging up the planet to get these resources. How good would it be? Who's got another subject? Any subject. Sleeping. How good would it be to fall asleep at night, at the time you're supposed to fall asleep, within your allotted 5 minutes, have an 8-hour sleep, and then you wake up feeling refreshed and energised? How good would that be?
That would be blissful.
It would be peaceful and useful.
Blissful.
Blissful, that's right, it would be blissful. But then we talk about the gloom. The gloom, I use a red pen, loving all these different colours. The gloom, the reality of it. There's too many colours. Just those two. What was the first one? Speaking. How good would it be to get up on stage? The reality of it, we're absolutely terrified. We don't want to get up on stage. We feel the fear, there's missed opportunities, and we fumble and we lose out. Whatever that opportunity might be, or we run away from opportunities. This is the gloom of it. Renewable resources. Ideal world where we have cheap renewable resources and they're good for the planet. The reality is we don't. We're digging up the planet, we're burning fossil fuels, and they're a finite resource. This is the gloom of it. Sleeping. Ideal world where we go to bed, go to bed when we're supposed to go to bed, we sleep blissfully and we wake up refreshed. The reality of it, a lot of us have trouble sleeping sometimes. We wake up with aches and pains and our bed's not very comfortable and we've got partner disturbance and whatever it might be. And then we offer, so this is two parts. This is the first part, this is the second part, and the third part is the win. So what are you going to do to offer a solution? You've taken people through a journey, whatever that might be. Renewable resources. You've taken them through the ideal world, you've shown them the gloom of the reality. What are the steps to get them out of trouble? Because right now they're feeling like, you've shown me some gold and you've taken it away. Well, we've got wind turbines, we've got solar panel, we've got renewable resources. There's lots of things that we can tap into for a better planet, right? For sleep, there's better sleeping systems, there's certain apps, there's white noise, there's whatever your solution is, insert it here. This is how you get them out, because you've taken people up to, how good would that be? But in reality, there's people yawning. People aren't getting a good night's sleep. How long's your flight, by the way? It's only to Sydney, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, good luck.
Hotel bed wasn't comfortable, sorry.
Yeah,
I
it wasn't.
engaged.
Yes, that's right, I believe you. I'm just picking on you. And with speaking, this is actually what I'm showing you here. So the ideal world where we get up on stage, have an engaged audience, you feel comfortable speaking about all your different topics, whatever you're speaking about, but the reality of it is that we're terrified. Here's the steps to get out of that, and this is what I'm showing you now. That makes sense for anyone?
Yeah, thanks for that. Because I had 1 and 2 the other way around. I had sort of gloom, ideal world, offer, win. I've had it the wrong way around. So
it helps to build people's expectations up first and then let them down.
yeah,
This is why I've had such a bad dating life.
yeah.
They build their expectations up and then let them down. I'm kidding. Sorry, Doug's looking at me. Stop talking shit.
You do, mate.
So I establish with what I'm doing, we're here.
Yeah.
What if we could do this? This is how we're going to get there. So it's good that I can already visualise how I can re-strategize that.
Yeah. All you're doing is showing people what they don't know.
Yeah.
What they do know, but they don't really understand it. And this is you're widening their circle of knowledge. So there's 3 levels of awareness: unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, and then conscious competence. So the conscious competence is you know what you know. You know how to drive, you know how to fight, you know how to tattoo and clean rooms. Like, you know your things, you know your skills, you know how to scaffold, you know your skills. You've got your basic skill sets, yeah? Then there's the things that you know that you don't know. Most of us in this room don't know heart surgery. We know that we don't know that. We're well aware of that. But then there's things that you didn't know that you didn't know. Today, you didn't know that you didn't know about rhetoric. Do you agree? Oh, sorry.
Things what? Things that you didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't know that you didn't know about rhetoric.
Okay.
Agree?
There you go.
Yep. Now that you know that you didn't know that, and then now that you know it. I've taken you through those 3 stages very quickly. So you didn't know you didn't know it, then you knew that you didn't know it as soon as I draw that circle up there and I started around the words, and then by the end of that, you knew that you knew it. Now you know it.
Can you just go through the 3 stages again? So it's conscious competence,
Yep,
unconscious competence, and the third one was
unconscious incompetence.
incompetence. Thank you.
Yep. Which is most of the world. No, I'm kidding. It's your circle of knowledge. Here's the things that you know that you know. This is the things that you know that you don't know. It's a black outline. I'm going to have to practice that. It's a black outline around the edge of your circle of knowledge. The middle is the circle of knowledge. The outline is the things that you know that you don't know. That's your conscious incompetence. You're aware that you don't know it. I can't drive a helicopter. I know that I don't know this. Fly a helicopter. As I'm learning things every day in life, I'm becoming more aware of things that I didn't know that I didn't know. And the more you start researching any subject matter, you become aware of things that you didn't know that you didn't know. You agree?
Just like education.
It's any form of education, that's right. And all we're trying to do with people, by taking them through that curve, is educating them on things that they know, things they know that they know, the up and the down. You bring up their awareness, and then you're teaching them the things that they didn't know that they didn't know. But you've got to prime them for that. You can't just start spitting out facts. Otherwise, and that's why you're here today. You could have Googled everything I'm teaching you here, but you didn't know it. So you didn't know what to Google to begin with. All right, anyone got any questions on that?
Sounds like a philosophy lecture.
It does, doesn't it?
So the 3 layers that we drew.
What's that?
So the 3 layers there, the conscious.
There's actually, just to mix it up a bit more, there's 4 layers to it.
So conscious competence, conscious incompetence,
And
unconscious
then
incompetence.
unconscious incompetence.
Yeah.
But then there's unconscious competence.
Would that be the inner?
Yeah, well, it's the things that you do unconsciously. For the most part, you don't think about driving. You just kind of do it. You don't think about walking. When you're a toddler, you do. And every step, you're consciously being competent. But then you go unconscious competence. So you just walk, you don't think about it. That's the 4th layer, is knowing something so well that you don't even have to think about it. I'm not thinking about speaking.
This sounds to me very much like being hauled up in front of police and they say, can you say these 4 ways? Say these things. As to whether or not you're drunk or not.
Yeah, that's a good sobriety test, yes. Yeah, you can use that if you like.
I hope that doesn't happen regularly.
I know, why would you bring that up? That's a random thing to...
Conscious and competence, I don't know.
Just the 3. You know what you know.
I don't know.
You know what you don't know, and there's things that you don't know that you don't know.
Have an awareness
Yeah.
of what you don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, awareness of it, yeah, what I'm going to learn,
that's right.
that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Right.
And you didn't know that you didn't know the 4 levels of awareness. Now you know that you didn't know it.
Oh, it's confusing.
How do we convince people of what we're trying to convey? Because isn't that, after all, Doug mentioned before, we're getting up on stage to show off our ideas, to show off a product, a service, whatever it is, we want to show the world. We want to share our message with the world, right? That's what public speaking is. And we start off, I don't know if my laser pointer works very, it's so dull. Who can see that? Can you see it? Yeah, okay. All right, first one is social proof. I mentioned that before with testimonials. She's laughing at my, incidentally, I'm colourblind. So that's what she's laughing at. So this is all a personal thing. I can see colours, but not as well as what most of you can see. It's quite common in men. No, I'd say common, it's probably 1 in 10, 1 in 15, something like that. But on a different scale. And I was in the army. It took them 5 years to realise that I was actually colourblind. I was in the engineers, and after 5 years, they changed the colour perception test, and it went from this little lamp they used to have that they turned around and changed different colours to this ink block type test. Has anyone ever seen that before? It's all these different dots. And I looked at that and they said, oh, there was a bit of an anomaly with your colour perception test. Can you just do this one? And I said, this is number 8. And they said, it's number 1. Are you colourblind? I went, yes. They said, you're an engineer? I said, yes. They said, you deal with explosives? I said, yes, that's right. So you can't deal with explosives anymore. So they kicked me out of the army. It was only the reserves, so that's all right. I shouldn't downplay that. It was the reserves. Social proof. Social proof is every testimonial that you've written, every 5-star review that you've seen. It's when your friends go to see a movie and they say, this is a good movie, you should go and see it. That's social proof. When you see a crowd at a market stall, that's social proof. It's what other people say about a product or service, and it gives you belief. So anytime you see a 5-star review, that's social proof. Use that to your advantage. Get the rest of the world to back you, and more people will follow. Reciprocity. At the airport, they used to have Buddhist monks giving out a rose to people. They would say, here you go, have a rose. And people would go, well, thank you. And then they'd offer the donation tin, if you will. Reciprocity. Has anyone gone to a market and they've offered free cheese, olive oil, free tasters, that sort of thing? They do it at Costco as well. What do? You have it, you feel bad just walking away. Sometimes you do, but for the most part, if they're friendly and you've had a few, you feel like you've got to, all right, give me a jar of your olive oil. You feel obliged to take something in return. Has anyone ever seen a free downloadable content, a free book online? Just watch this video, you got a free course, a free book. Today is reciprocity. You've spent some time with me, and at the end of it, I'm going to ask you to book a course. So incidentally, there's nothing, I'm not selling you anything today, but I will put a QR code on here, and if you want to have a chat with me sometime during the week, scan the code. That's just my little, that's my only reciprocity, is book a call with me. We'll have a chat. Reciprocity is you give something for free in the hopes that people are going to know, like and trust you. That's why we buy things off people. We know, like and trust them. Social proof, reciprocity, liking, that's another one. Oh, press the wrong button there. Liking. If you ever go to a food court and you see food from every country in the world, you will see that there's one queue behind one shop. There's one shop that's always got a queue of people waiting. Who wants to guess at that one? McDonald's. Is it the best food there? No. Is it the cheapest food there?
Not necessarily.
No, it's not the cheapest food there. No, you'd be paying $15 for a meal minimum. Why do we go to McDonald's? In a food court, plethora of food from all over the world. Why do we go there? Because
It's a trusted global brand.
it's trust. We know, like and trust them. We know what we're going to get. The best way to do that is reciprocity. Give something away for free, people see it, and they go, okay, this has helped me. We know, like and trust them.
I've never seen them give out free food at McDonald's though.
No, but you've been brought up on Happy Meals, so you know, like and trust them. You've seen the commercials, we've gone, it's only from history that we know McDonald's. It's not because they give out free food. I'd like to see that one day though. They used to give out free food. Oh, that was when I was working for them. I used to take it. Consistency and commitment. If you were to open up eBay right now or Marketplace, chances are you would get some suggestions on things for you to buy. Any shopping website, Temu, whatever it is, Amazon, you will get some suggestions based on your consistency and commitment, based on your historical purchases. People who, the easiest customer to sell to is the person who you've sold to beforehand, because they're committed to you already. They've already given you some money. That's the easiest person to sell to, consistency and commitment. Liking. Imagine for a moment there were 5 different stalls here, all selling the same product that you wanted, or the same service that you wanted, and there were 5 different people behind each stall, of different demographics, of different ages, different races, different places in the world, and you saw one that was your age, your demographic, your race, chances are you're more likely to go to that person, especially if they speak your own language, if they're from your neighbourhood, whatever it is, that's just more like you. We buy things from people that are more like us. This also fits into that know, like and trust type thing. So liking. Authority. This is an interesting one because we adhere to this even if we know that it's not an authority figure. Have you seen a commercial that's advertising some skincare or some medical product, a toothpaste? We see some guy dressed up in a dentist's outfit and he's advertising some toothpaste. We know he's not a dentist or a doctor, but we see that as an authority figure. And there's been experiments, there's a Stanford experiment, a famous Stanford experiment where people were electrocuting a person in a room. You know this?
Is that Milgram?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Well, they were made so they had a guy in a uniform saying, press this button and this person in the room will get a small electric shock. And they slowly increased the electric shock, and the person in the room was an actor. They weren't really hooked up to anything, but they got them to a point of where they looked like they were getting electrocuted to within an inch of their life. And the person was pressing this button in tears because a doctor was telling him to do it. Authority. If a policeman pulls you over, your chances are you'll do whatever they tell you to do. Authority. The doctor, authority. Even when we know it's on a commercial, we see someone in an outfit, in a uniform, that's an authority figure. Chances are we'll follow what they say. Contrast. Contrast is interesting. It's more of a marketing and advertising thing, but to put something in a higher perspective and then offer something lower. I sold beds at a public seminar company, and what we would do, our beds were very expensive. They were $10,000 a piece. How do you sell a $10,000 bed? You show one at people saying how it's inferior, but it costs $20,000. And people have got that in their mind. It's anchoring as well. They got that in their mind. So you're contrasting. You're saying how bad this one is, and it's more expensive, and how good mine is, and it's half the price. So they've anchored that price in their mind of $20,000. You've contrasted how good mine is with the other one, and that's why we do it. We're seeing it every day today with politicians. We're seeing contrast. This one's terrible, our one's really good. Look at all the bad things that we've done. We saw it yesterday at that presentation. You started bagging the greens. The rule of 3. Small, medium, large. How many times you've seen that? Just about every fast food chain does it. 3, any more than that, we struggle to make decide which one. In a cafe, it's usually small, medium, large. In McDonald's, small, medium, large. Everything is 3, rule of 3. If you go into JB Hi-Fi, chances are they'll have 3 TVs. That one, and that one. The one in the middle, incidentally, they usually bring the price of that one up close to the higher price one, so it seems like the contrast is not that difference from the high price one. So you go, oh, for an extra $100, I may as well just get the big one. And they didn't really want to sell the middle one at all. So they raised the price of that because they want you to buy the biggest one. But by contrast, it doesn't look like much more. It looks like much, much better for a little bit more money. All right, keep an eye on that next time you're going to buy something electrical. I do have a disclaimer, this one. There was a Boston shoe salesman that came up with the slogan 2, not 3, because he found people were confused by 3. He would say, so a customer would come in, they'd sit down and say, I want to try the black shoes. So he'd put down black shoes, give me a look at the grey ones as well, put down the grey shoes, and I want to check out the white ones. And he would stop them there and say, no worries, which ones do you want me to take away? Because 3 is too hard to make a decision on if you've got 3 to choose from, in his mind. So sometimes 2 is the solution. 3 can be a bit too confusing. and we've seen this on websites before, where you scan down the website and they've got the starter package, the business package, and then the expert package, whatever it is. Sometimes they offer 3. If they offer 4 or 5, it gets very confusing. Sometimes 2 is the solution. Maybe a free starter and then your basic package. Sometimes 3 is the rule. Just play with that. Maybe do a split test or something. Depends on what you're selling. Repetition. This is mainly an advertising thing. Who knows how many times you have to see something before you buy it? It's something like 17 times. It's a massive amount, and that's why we run the same ads in the same newspapers over and over. We have to see the same thing over and over. That's just repetition. We start to build up a trust for it. If we see the same ad over and over, who sells tiles in Victoria or Australia?
National Tiles.
National Tiles. Why do you know that? Have you ever bought tiles from National Tiles?
No.
I haven't. No. That's the guy. Hello, Frank Walker from National Tiles. I even know the ad. I've never bought tiles from, but I know, like, and trust him because repetition. I've heard that ad so many times, and it annoys me. And there was Franco Cozzo. Comprate the Franco Cozzo.
Yeah, I always wanted to buy something just
To go there. He became a celebrity.
You go in and have a look, you think, oh my God.
Framing and reframing. Framing is that's more reframing. Reframing and framing, very similar. It's, say if you were to buy some low-fat milk, they wouldn't say our milk is 10% fat. They would say it's 90% no fat. That's reframing something. And framing is saying you will get all the success. So overcoming your fear. So your fear, I'm framing your fear of public speaking as something to use as energy. Actually, that's reframing. But you get the idea. Framing and reframing, it's changing what is good and turning it into something.
The way you're presenting something.
Yeah. Changing what's bad, you could use that as a good service. Okay. Does anyone get any questions on those? No? All right. They're fascinating though, aren't they? And now you've seen it, you can't unsee these, and you'll see this in marketing campaigns, you'll see this in advertising. And I only share this with you because we know it. We're familiar with it. We know it's going to get us every single time, but it's also what works. Even though you're seeing it, even though you know you're being manipulated. I know that I go to a market and someone offers me free olive oil, even if they don't know that it's a rule of reciprocity. I know it, but I still want a free olive oil and I'm still going to buy a jar. I know that. I know I'm being done. But that's okay, and we know it works. So here's your challenge. Actually, before we get to that, who's comfortable at asking for discounts for things? Asking for a discount?
I've done that, yeah.
Yeah? What about just asking for a discount when you buy a cup of coffee? Or you go into the supermarket?
No.
This is your first fear challenge. So go out into the world. Next time you buy a coffee, next time you buy something at the supermarket, say, what are the chances of getting 10% off? And the lady at the checkout will go, what? It's a marketing training thing. I'm just trying to get over my fear of doing things unusual. So try that. What are the chances? Sometimes you'll get a discount. If it's a cafe that you're friends with, just say, it's all right, I didn't really want it. I just wanted to get over this fear. Ask for a discount. And especially at an electrical shop, they'll almost always give you a discount. Hey, you might save a few bucks.
Do you ever ask for a discount?
Yes. Yes. I practice what I preach. Do as I say, not as I do. No, I do this. I do this. The other challenge for you is to compliment someone. Women do this naturally, but compliment is more of a struggle for men. Say, mate, I love those shoes. They genuinely, I actually like those shoes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's right. They look comfy. So this is not something that men do quite a lot. We compliment each other. Looking good today. Wade complimented me a couple of weeks ago. We went for a swim. Got my gear off and he said, mate, you're looking good. I said, thanks. And I felt good for the rest of the day and I still remember it. That's the difference it makes. No one tells me that anymore. Thank you.
Being honest.
Write a short speech. How short? 30 seconds. A minute. 15 seconds. Short. Write a short speech and deliver as someone who intimidates you. Who intimidates you? I don't know, is it a work colleague? Is it a friend? Is it a family member? Say, I'm practicing becoming a better speaker. I've got a 15-second speech. Can you hear me out for a sec? Ask for feedback. Yeah, actually ask for feedback. Say, was that good? What was I doing different? And by asking for feedback, say, you know, the criticisms and compliments. And that's your challenges. That will scan you to a booking with me. A free call, half an hour, we'll figure out if we can work together. So this concludes, and this is all the things that I teach. And should you choose to work with me, you'll be next up on stage like Doug and Mel to actually present to a room. And after 8 weeks, hopefully, you'll be a competent communicator. So scan that. Even pretend to scan it, say, make me feel better. And if you want, you can reach out to me. You've all got my... I'm going to be actually calling a few of you as well. The ones I didn't call, I'm going to give a phone call just to see what you thought about today's presentation. So we'll be connecting anyway. And hopefully you've all enjoyed today's session. We're right on time. Fantastic. And thank you for attending, everyone.
Sorry, one more there.
Oh, like with the stupid, scam me.
You want to kick a picture of you and all of that?
Oh, yeah, what? Like presenting? I don't know what you've already got, yeah. This is a group shot, so this is my marketing. You're taking photos or something, are you? So this is, I don't know what you... Thanks, that's it. Now I feel like an idiot. Anyone got any other questions? The mic's off now. Got some questions? Thank you again for attending. I know you could have been doing many things today, so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What time's your